12.3 Measures of Central Tendency and Dispersion. And in this section, we're going to be talking about mean, median, mode, range, and some outliers. All of this you've had in middle school, but we will go back over these and discuss some new things. All right, so measures of central tendency, there's just a way of summarizing a set of data. Mean, median, and mode are all measures of central tendency. And to determine which one is the best one to measure to describe a set of data, well, it's going to depend on whether or not the data has an outlier. And an outlier is a data entry that is extremely far away from the rest of the set. It's either very, very much bigger or very, very, very much smaller than the rest of the data. If the data does not have an outlier, then the mean is the best measure. If the data does have an outlier, the median is the best measure. Now, when we're doing this, we're going to be using a calculator a lot in this section. The mean is the average of the data. So if you were going to calculate the average of anything, you would add up all the entries and then divide by the number. So let me write this over here. Let's use white. Add all data and divide by the number of entries. That will give you the mean. We're going to be using a calculator to do that, but in case you need to know that for another problem we'll have, that's what you're going to be doing. The median is the data entry in the middle of the data when you put it in order from least to greatest. If you have an even number of data, okay, say you have 8, you take the two middle entries and then you find the mean of those two. So you'll take the two middle ones, add them together and divide by 2, and that will be the median for the set. And the mode, of course, is the data entry repeated the most. Okay, so you need to know what those are and how to find each one of those. All right, so dispersion is how spread out values of data are in a set. Range is a measure of dispersion. Range can tell you the difference from the lowest or smallest data entry to the highest data entry. So you'll use min x and max x in the calculator for that, and then you will subtract the difference. All right, so when you're doing the calculator steps, you're going to take your calculator, let me pull mine up, and you're going to do like I did here, and I entered my data. I went to stat, back on, I went to stat, edit, and I put all my data in L1. Every time you enter 1, you have to hit enter afterwards so it'll put it into the next space. Otherwise, it'll be one big number right here. So every time you hit 104, you hit enter. All right, now, when we want to find the mean, median, mode, and all those things like that, you're going to use stat edit in your data. Then you're going to go back to stat calc, and you're going to hit number 1, which is 1 bar stat. Okay, hit enter, enter, and it'll give you a whole bunch of stuff. It also has an arrow that's pointing down, which means you can scroll down. Before you scroll down, you're going to want to have this very first number. That X with a little hat on top of it, or X bar, that is the mean. Okay, so in this case, our mean is 122. That is going to be the very first thing at the top. So X bar or X hat means 122, and that is your mean. Then you can scroll down where it says min X, that's the lowest data entry that you had. Q1 is quartile 1. There's your median. MED is median. Q3 is the upper quartile, 126.5 in this case. Max is the highest entry level, data entry that you put in. So you're going to take, if you want to find the range, you'll take max X, subtract min X, and that will give you your range. There's your median, and again, you can roll back up to get your mean right there. Now, the only thing it won't give you is the mode, and that's just going to be a matter of you looking at your data and seeing which one repeats the most. And sometimes you don't have one. Whichever one repeats the most is your mode. Now, you could have more than one mode, and that's okay. We don't use it that often, but in case they ask you for it, you'll know what to do. Okay, so that's what you're going to be doing with a lot of our homework, is putting in your calculator. All right, so problem number 1 says, what are the mean, median, mode of the bowling scores below? Which measure of central tendency best describes the scores? Well, that happened to be what I had in my calculator. So, you did it ahead of time. So this one, the mean is 122. Okay, and looking at our data right here, we have 104, 117, 104, 136, 189, 109, 113, 104. One score is way out beyond the rest of them, and that would be 189. Okay, the rest of them are pretty close, but 189 is way out there. That 189 is an outlier. Okay, because we have an outlier, the best measure to decide to describe this data is going to be using the median. So if we find the median, which I've already told you how to do, and it's right here, median's 111. So that would be, if you add them all up and divide it by 2, the median, median is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we had an even number of data. So you take the 2 middle ones, add them up, divide by 2, and that'll be your median. But like I said, our calculator will do it for us. All right, so that was what the best description of this data is going to be, the median, because of that outlier. Okay? All right. Problem number 2, they want you to find a value. Well, suppose your grades on 3 exams are 80, 93, and 90. What grade do you need on the next exam to have an average or a mean? Average is the same thing as mean. Oops, let's change that to here and read it. Average equals mean. Okay, if you wanted to have a mean of 90. All right, so you would put those on top, 80 plus 93 plus 91 plus some number we don't know, divided by the 4 exams total. What would that be to give us 90? Well, you're just doing your math. So you add these up, 264 plus x divided by 4 equals 90. Get rid of that 4 by multiplying. So 264 plus x is equal to 360. Subtracting 264 gives us 96. So in order to have that average of a 90, we need a 96 on that next test. Okay, so if you need to find a grade in order to get an average, this is the way you'll do this one. Okay, and another example. This one is about time on a treadmill, and they had put down their time. And then they had decided, well, what if I added 5 minutes to their training time during the second week? So they took this information and they added 5 to every person's time. Okay? What they want to know is, what are the mean, median, mode, and range of the times of the second week? So you find the first week, put all this in your calculator, find the first week. All right, and then you will find the mean, median, mode, and range of the second week. Well, all you have to do once you have your mean, median, and mode of the first week is add 5 to it. The only thing that will not change is the range, okay? So when you add, it'll just add 5 to the mean, it'll add 5 to the median, it'll also add 5 to the mode, but it will not change the range, okay? All right, so in case they want to add something to it, that's the one area it will not change. They may ask you a question like that, which one would not change if you added such and such minutes to the whole thing, okay? And then the last type of example that they would give you, suppose the mean of a set of 20 numbers is 40, so that's mean is 40. Then the sum of all the data is what? Well, this is just a simple setup for an algebra problem. So you know mean is equal to the sum of all your data divided by the number of data. So if it's asking you what is the sum of it, that would be your x. The number of data is 20, and the mean is 40, so you just cross multiply. This will give you x is 800. Very, very simple problem. They could ask you all sorts of questions about mean, median, and mode. Mostly they're going to ask you to compare data sets. Be willing to find all of the mean, median, and modes and all the ranges for each set, and then answer the questions, okay? Calculator will do all this for you, so it's not like it's going to be, have to do a whole lot of calculations yourself. So please take the time to do these right, because these are very, very, very easy questions, but they take just a second or two to put them in your calculator. All right, so if you have any questions, come see me in class, and I'll talk to you then.